Starting off the day, I started the UI that shows up when dragging items out of the inventory or when right-clicking on items. This will only show up when you have multiple items you are trying to drop. If you only have one item to drop, it won't show up and it will just drop the item as is. For the graphics and the UI textures, I used a free, at least free at the time, asset called Zombies UIs and Icons. And that was also used for the add and subtract buttons on the UI that pops up. And we went through loads of different ideas of what the UI should look like, the size where it pops up based on the mouse clicks, and much, much more. After changing it about 5 or more times, we finally settled on 1. And this is what it looked like. Tell me what you guys think down below. Okay, so we only have 1. We do this and it will drop it. But if we have more than 2 or more than 1 and do it, it gives you the option. That is awesome. And the amount of blueprint work it took just to show or find how many items the player has is insane. So everything we have may change in a later episode just to make it work better. But for now, this is what we have and this is how it's going to stay. And finally, we start working on the right click functions on item stacks. But we don't want to remove it either though, because if we're going to basically do what we did before. So I think technically now it works. Technically. Maybe not the way we want it to. If we click drop, it does that. And if we click plus and drop, it technically works. At the time of recording this, there is technically a right click function, but it doesn't really work, at least on stacks inside the inventory. You can still technically drag and drop items outside of the inventory and it will give you an option using the UI of how many of that specific item you do want to drop. But I really don't think the right clicking function inside of the actual inventory and making another UI pop up looks very good. So it might be taken out in the later updates. And if you guys think it should be taken out also, just let me know what you guys think down below. And finally, for this segment of the inventory, we had one final bug that did take me a long time to figure out how to fix on my own. But the problem we're having now is if you drop more than 3 items, your interact button pops up, and I don't know why. And as of the time of recording this, I do know what caused the bug. And what caused it was back when I was originally working on the information being passed to the player, there was a node that was asking if everything was on the locally controlled player instead of the server controlled player, and I removed that. Ever since I removed it, it basically caused this issue, but I don't feel like I want to add it back because I do have it working without that. It felt like it was maybe just an extra step that didn't really need to be in there, so we took it out on accident thinking it would mess up something. And it did cause a bug, but we figured out a way to fix that bug later on. Basically what it's doing is asking on the create inventory UI where it actually creates it, is the inventory open? And if it is, then it will remove anything involving the pick up UI on the screen. It can reappear when walking over other items or leaving the item and walking back onto the item. It's a little bit of a bug, but it kept causing duplicates, at least of that specific UI. But it still technically works. We may change it later on or find a better fix for it. But as of right now, that's how it's going to be. I freaking did it. I'm still getting some minor errors, but it's working. Because it literally told me in here, it says it must be removed explicitly rather than from remove parent. So I'm assuming that means directly in the widget. Also, there's some movie lines in here from some of my favorite movies, so look at the description of the items to maybe find some fun movie references. But finally, we are adding the inventory hotbar or quack. Finally, we are adding the inventory hotbar or the quick access, whichever you want to call it, and the player armor slots or weapon slots. As the time of recording, we have types of slots called none, miscellaneous, consumables, and armor. But later on, all that changes and there will be many, many more. And finally, hopefully for the last time for a long while, we edit some more images. This time we just used a 3D paint tool that comes with Windows. It sucks, but to me it was a little bit more usable than GIMP. So we just went ahead and used it anyways. We jumped into UE5 and made backdrops for taking photos of each and every item. The image sizes we ended up going with was 555 by 555 pixels. And of course, these are going to be the images or the photos that you see inside the hotbar slots or the armor slots when equipping weapons, tools, armor, food, anything else that you actually need for your character. And finally, we get to the fun stuff. Time to make the categories, or some people might call them tabs or whatever. But in my game, I do plan on having loads and loads of items, and I do want this game to have thousands of items you can use, play with, or just keep, even if they actually have no use, at least right away. But that will get very confusing very fast, so let's make tabs that you can click on, or sorting tabs, I guess you can say, where you can sort your inventory based on what item you want to find, and it will only show those tabs, or it'll only show those items in the inventory. So what we ended up making was a couple of different tabs. Let's go ahead and talk about them. The all tab, well, of course, is just shows all of your items. The misc tab, which is like the miscellaneous tab, is a tab that shows items that don't have a very specific thing they are used for. Just fun items to pick up or to collect as you go. The consumable tab is a tab there for all food items and drinking items, but I'm contemplating on whether I want to add your health items like bandages and everything else go there also, or whether we just want to have it as basic food. I need to know what you guys think about that, so please leave down in the comment section below if we should put the health items inside that tab also for sorting or filtering out your items, or do we make it its own separate tab eventually? Up next is the weapons tab. Basically, if it can be used as a weapon to shoot, swing, stab, or do any type of harm to any type of mob, it will be there. The armor tab, anything that can help protect you or add to the player's stats by wearing it, is going to be there. Doing a little test. Setting the weapon to miscellaneous. So we pick up these. Doesn't show anything. Hit misc and it shows the miscellaneous. That is awesome. Update. So every time we add, go ahead and clear all inventory slots. So we're doing a clear, and I guess let's try it. Maybe this will work. So every time we're calling the F update, it's clearing it and then showing what we're specifying. Yep, so it doesn't glitch out. Pick up this. We have two things. Click all. If we go to miscellaneous and then click back to all, it's still there. Consumables, weapons, armor, none. Okay. Probably should do some sort of armor item just for testing purposes. There we go. Miscellaneous, consumables, weapons, armor. Bro, this is nice. It's working. Now, somewhere along this line, I don't remember specifically when. I guess my ADHD happened to kick in and I just wanted to change my character. I broke a lot of stuff doing it because I thought it would be simple, but UE5 or Unreal Engine 5 makes it a lot harder to deal with. After watching loads and loads of videos online, I guess people who have also dealt with Unity and Godot and other engines, they all have the same thing to say, and for some reason UE5 makes stuff a lot harder than it needs to be. So I needed to watch a lot of tutorials on adding a new character model and reanimating the entire thing so I would have a working character. It's not the best, but it works. And of course the animations are really, really bad. Not because Mixamo, the place I got my animations from, has bad animations. I just wasn't trying to put in the time yet to actually get all the perfect animations for every little movement. Also, the character I seem to have downloaded from Mixamo looks very stretched on the Mixamo preview and in Unreal Engine 5. And I know it looks really weird, but I guess that's just how it's supposed to be. I don't know why it's that way, but that's just how it's going to be. That's how we're going to keep it until we decide to change everything back over and spend an entire episode or two strictly working on character animation, character design, and everything else. Now, the guy I was watching really went all over the place with this. It was hard to follow what he was really doing, and it got very confusing very fast. So I kind of just did it on my own. Basically, when you click on the tab in your inventory, the button will have like a red glow around it and everything else will be normal. And clicking on another tab will reset all the other tabs back to normal, and the one you clicked on will turn red. And then when closing the inventory and opening it back up, it will default back to the all tab, and the all tab will be glowing red also. Miscellaneous, consumable. There we go. Holy crap. That's awesome. What happened to the sound? Alright, let's double check it. Make sure everything's running right. It's all miscellaneous, consumables, weapons, armor. And we should be good. Plus, it doesn't really, Miscellaneous, consumables, weapons. That one was a random test item that I threw in there. That one doesn't show up in weapons because I don't have something set. Yeah, they technically both show up, but only one shows up there because this one right here technically is one of these guys right here, but it doesn't have a category, so that's okay. That's done. Now, there was a couple more bugs that I did run into. I will go over it, but they're nothing too crazy. Some of the bugs is whenever like a character or a player would jump off of a really high ledge and drop their items out of their inventory, it would just stay up in the air. So what we did is we went through a bunch of blueprint stuff, and whenever a character is dropping the inventory, what it does is it runs a bunch of checks, a couple of 1,000 units up and down to see where the nearest landing point is, like the ground, and wherever it is, that's where the item will spawn, so the items no longer get stuck in the air. I don't really see anybody doing that fairly often, but in case it ever actually does happen, we have a fix for that. And I know this probably is like a random time where people might accidentally do something. It's not something people are going to be. This is not something that people are going to be always doing, but you never know. So drop, and then there we go. It does hit the ground right there, and it's like, yo, okay, this is where the ground is. Let's not spawn it in the air. And then we have our item back. And that was just a small little fix because you really don't want to have like a player saying like, you know, he's on the side of a mountain or they're on the side of something big and they drop it and it spawns it a couple hundred units out from the character. You don't want it to be stuck in the air. You still want it to be accessible. So now the character can slide down to the side of the mountain or go down to wherever it landed at and pick it up. And finally, the armor system. Honestly, probably one of the hardest parts about this. And it took so long to do and so many bugs. And I got some armor working. So let's go ahead and show you this real quick. A little bit of work later. We got this. So helmet. You can pick it up. And there she is. Now, this skeletal mesh, or this mesh of my character is all built into one, so I can't adjust it. I would like to take the dude's hat and everything else off, but I think it still looks pretty good. Cool little details here. His headphones are now on the outside of his helmet whenever you put the helmet on. You can zoom into it here. It looks fairly decent. Like, this actually looks really freaking good. There's a lot of bugs that I fixed on my own instead of watching the tutorial guy that I've been watching, because he didn't really cover some of these things. So I had to figure it out myself, but it was really complicated. The first things or items that I physically got working for my character is the helmet. Up next, not only was weapons and more armor, but I decided to take the tutorial video that I was watching and pretty much remix it to my own stuff. That was legit a pain in my ass, but it works, sort of. You can equip the head slot, the chest slot, and you got it. It fits the character. But this one doesn't stay updated, and I don't know why. The dude I was watching only had a very few specific slots. One basic armor slot, so it basically armored up your whole character. And I went through and did my own stuff too, as I made my own different slots, made a bunch of them, and made a bunch of different items only for very specific slots. And now our character is going to have very intricate slots. Now, I don't know how intricate I want to go with it. I might just do a glove slot and another glove slot and then arm slots and stuff like that. Or I could just go even further into it if I want to. But right now we have a couple basic armor slots. So you have your hands, you got your arms, you got your shoulder pads, your chest plate, you have pants, we got feet, and we got the helmet. Head item, chest item. Oops. There. Weapon. We have nothing for the feet yet, but that's okay. Okay. It's a little jank, but it's starting to come along. Right click and use. I don't like how you can't see half of it. I might have to move this list here up. And we might add more. We might change things up later on. So whatever it is now, it might be different later on. Eventually, if I can get some good weapon models, either for a good price or somewhere else, then I might add more weapons. Honestly, right now, as of the time of this recording, I've been working like 6 days a week and will continue to do so because it's being mandated at work, which means I have absolutely zero choice. I don't have very much time. So if there's anyone out there that does have the talent to do this stuff or would love to help with this project, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to work with anyone who's good with sounds, 3D models, or Unreal Engine 5 just in general. If you go to the About tab on my YouTube channel that you're watching this on, there is an email there where you guys can reach out and get a hold of me about working with me on this stuff. And if you guys do decide to, thank you guys so much. And we are slowly but surely adding a lot more, and this will be probably the end of this video. I do want to say a massive thank you real quick though, because the very first video that we did post has 571 views in about 3 weeks, and by the time this gets uploaded, it'll probably be about 4 or 5 weeks, I don't know. But you guys did get a lot of views on that video. You guys did rank it up for me like crazy. You guys pushed me from 0 subscribers to 32 subscribers within 2 weeks of posting a video, and most of you guys actually came in within the first week of me posting that video. So thank you guys for that. And thank you guys for all the very kind comments. I'm reading them right now as I'm recording this. We got 28 different comments, and you guys were amazing, and all the nice kind words. So thank you guys for that. And I will see you guys in the next video.